Inhabitants of Etekak neighborhood in Yaoundé say that the stretch of the road linking Etekak to the Yaoundé 6 and Yaoundé 7 subdivisions has nothing to show for a road in the nation's political capital city. First said that it has made life difficult, extremely difficult, as the rains have worsened the stretch of the road. Also in Limbe, in the Fako division of the Southwest region, the very sad story of the road network challenging to inhabitants of the Limbe Free subdivision will be part of our focus on the road network across Cameroon today. Several areas complaining of road. If you are to go by the saying that where the road goes, development follows, then several parts of Cameroon are not developed. We shall be showing some examples in this edition of the news. A fight at the National Assembly in Yaoundé, a show of strength and force between members of Parliament of the opposition and those of the ruling political party on budget orientations. We shall be discovering more in this edition of the news. Also, the mayor and traditional ruler of Bogo, that's in the far north region of Cameroon, is no more. Darkness across the Lamidad of Bogo. We are in the Djama division of the far north region of Cameroon. Sports AFCON will be yours in this edition of the news. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for getting information on Equinoxe Television. You're on to our primetime newscast. We call it the 6 p.m. edition of the news. We're live from Douala, Cameroon's economic capital city. Thanks for making the right choice to get informed by your #1 television channel, Equinoxe. We shall be starting on a sad page, as I indicated in our top stories. Darkness on the Bogo Lamidat, that in Bogo subdivision of a Djama division, we're in the far north region of Cameroon. Report gotten in the very early hours of today says the Lamido Bogo, who doubles as the mayor of Bogo Council, is no more. His Majesty Amadou Ousmane died in a hospital in the far north regional chieftain of Marwa, Tuesday, July 5th, 2022. It should be recalled that he has been Lamido of Bogo since 1997. Bogo is a subdivision of the Djama in the far north region of Cameroon. From the far north, we move down south to the center of Cameroon, the nation's political capital city, and our top point is the Ngwakele Glass House. Amidst protests from opposition members of parliament, Cameroon's parliament, that's the lower house of parliament, went ahead to deliberate and validate the budget orientations and adjustments brought in by members of government. The members of parliament of the opposition had demanded an extraordinary session to debate the state of the budget, adding that the law says the budget has to be introduced at least on the June 20th, that is on June the 30th, but the Minister of Finance, Luipo Mutazi, brought the proposed budget 5 days later and at 11 a.m. according to protesting members of parliament of the opposition, who took the rostrum hostage in Yaoundé, stopping even the Minister of Finance, Luipo Mutazi, from proceeding, and also in total disregard to the call from Cameroon's House Speaker, Right Honorable Kavaye Gijibwe, for them to go and sit and observe deliberations with regards to the state budget brought in by members of government. They said that they were expected to read the 168 pages within 30 minutes, something which they say could not be possible with regards to the need for members of parliament to strictly scrutinize the modalities in the proposed budget before voting. They saw that as a gross violations of what they qualify as the demands of the text in Cameroon that provoked a tense atmosphere at Cameroon's lower house of parliament, similar to what had obtained in several years of with members of the opposition Social Democratic Front, who in many cases have taken deliberations hostage at the National Assembly, asking for debate on the armed conflict rocking the northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon. And I will take you to a Tetat. It's a neighborhood in Cameroon's political capital city, the road network, which is in a deplorable state. The people said that it is unfortunate that this strategic neighborhood links the Yaoundé 6, 7 and 2 municipalities to the rest of the city. The road, they say, is a serious problem. We have details with MATGENIE Gabriel.
The heart of Yaoundé lies the Etatak roundabout, which has become a veritable problem to the inhabitants of the zone and those plying this stretch of road. If some years back it was easy for cars to freely circulate here, this year, due to the rains, the zone is giving a nightmare to everyone. We have been struggling this way, either with our foot or we swim. When we are blocked, there is just no way. Once I have fallen in the middle of this water when I was going to walk on a commercial motorcycle. For more than 30 years that I was born here, we have seen it this way. Our cars spoil and even children drown inside water. Coming from Mokolo, Karufumek, Sitevet, or from Eyumabang, it is very difficult to pass through this road, not because of the potholes, but also the artificial lake that has been created in the middle of the road. To fight against floods and congestion, the youths of the neighborhood have decided to reduce the water level standing on the road, which is not new to them. If we don't remove this water, we shall continue to meet water in our houses always, because it's been several years we've been doing the same work to limit the congestion usually observed here. If the road is arranged, it will serve as a secondary road to nearby inhabitants and free them from floods. Notwithstanding the fact that the road leading to Etatak roundabout serves as a meeting point to several other neighborhoods in Yaoundé 7, 6 and 2, cars, commercial motorcycles and pedestrians find it difficult using this stretch of road at Carrefour Etatak. I'm a commercial motorcycle rider running the line Camp Sonel to Mokolo. Sometimes when we deny taking passengers, it is because of the road. A weak bike can't climb up this way. With an artificial lake in the middle of the road, it also gives sleepless nights to the road users, who at times are victims of attacks from men of the underworld. They attack us where the water is standing. We find it difficult passing there at night. We are afraid of the hill because before reaching there, we are tired. Several years ago, then Prime Minister Philemon Yunji-Yang inaugurated over 200 stores around this zone, and it was meant to encourage youth into business. But today, many say it was a waste of government resources. Several billions have been buried by the government here because the Etatak River was still to develop. The technical service was to take time to study the difficulty at Etatak roundabout. With about 500 stores opened, only 100 have been taken. The rest is in water, and it's a shame if we leave these investments disappear.
Un véritable gâchis si on laissait tout ça pourrir comme les immeubles des riverains.
At some given time, these people were given hopes that the road will be rehabilitated with cement ties brought to the site. But till date, nothing has been done to the road.
An old story, the story of the very deplorable state of the road of the Etatak neighborhood in Yaoundé. I indicated that that stretch of the road is extremely strategic. It links the Yaoundé 5, Yaoundé 7, Yaoundé 6 and Yaoundé 2 municipalities, and businesses are not unfolding normally along the stretch of the road despite huge investments made by individuals. It is a road as old as the Prime ministership of Philemon Yang in Cameroon. Yes, it is not the only road with a long story, but as deplorable as it was 3 years after the stretch of the road in Limbe Free, that is linking Mabreta to the rest of Limbe, is as deplorable as well. The people's question why the government of Cameroon in 3 years has changed contractors thrice and the state of the road remains worst. They do not understand why they continue to suffer even with the coming of the rains, unable to get their goods to and from Mabeta, Bimbia and the rest of the Limbe 3 municipality. A strategic stretch of the road abandoned according to Limbe 3 inhabitants. Davison Man was the man on that story.
It is not easy getting into the heart of Limbe 3 subdivision with headquarters at Bimbia.
Very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. When I say difficult, it's very, very difficult for us.
We are suffering nothing. We, the population here, we are suffering. But we change. Giving us good contractors, not bad contractors.
For me, from town to come here, I paid more than close to 4,000 francs only to transport my friends for how many kilometers to reach my village. Is that fair? I don't know.
Actually, we have to drop off from the bike right down there and trek through deplorable areas of the road. It is a situation the people of Limbe 3 subdivision are going through.
I've been falling several times because of bad road. At my age, more than 20 times.
Look at my leg here. I have an injury here. Here, on the bike. Here, this one is just recently.
Foodstuffs such as plantains, you can see for yourself, and even good natural bananas are actually foodstuffs that come up from this area. These things are very difficult to actually get to the main city of Limbe because of the poor situation of the road. And this is one of the hurdles that the people of Limbe 3 are actually faced with.
The government is just dancing one side. No straightforward government. The government is bad. We need a change. Those who are ahead, they should hear that we need a change.
Despite calls from the people of this area for the contracting firm to ameliorate the situation of the road, nothing has been done so far. For over 3 years since the contract was awarded, the people of this area continue to suffer because of the poor road condition. I'm Davison Maimo for Equinoxe Television, live in Limbe 3 subdivision, Fako division of the southwest region of Cameroon.
And inhabitants of Limbe 3 in the Fakobe southwest region are not the only people angry in Cameroon. Yes, workers of the National Park of Civil Engineering have also gone angry and have downed their tools in an indefinite strike action. Engaging on an indefinite strike action, they are demanding the payment of 16 months of salary arrears. The workers have grounded activities demanding that their salaries be paid or work remains in that nature. They gathered at the head office of the institution in the nation's political capital city, Yaoundé. We have details with Immaculate Fogre in the following report.
16 months without salaries. Workers are suffering. Families have been destroyed. These are the messages written on a banner placed at the entrance of the National Park of Civil Engineering Equipment, which has its French acronym MATGENIE. Since Wednesday morning, the workers have decided to close their gate. They are demanding that 16 months of salary arrears be paid. It is too much for us to bear. It is time for the government to intervene. Either the company is closed for us to know our fate or our salaries are paid. The workers are also demanding the regularization and payment of their contributions to the National Social Insurance Fund and the payment of the rights of retirees.
J'ai 40 ans de service et je pars.
I have worked for 40 years. I'll be going on retirement on the 7th of July. If my salary is not assured, what more of my retirement benefits? I have not seen a document that proves that our files are being followed up.
pour déposer ce papier à la caisse, je n'ai pas.
A meeting aimed at addressing these challenges has been scheduled to take place by the end of this week.
Nous avons convenu que nous allons nous
According to Gustave EBONGUE, Director General of MATGENIE, a meeting between the regional delegate of Labor and Social Security and its employees have been scheduled to take place this week. He is surprised that they, however, went ahead to organize the strike action.
Ils ont fermé l'entrée avec des pancartes.
As the workers condemn the Minister of Public Works for abandoning them, they are, however, begging on the head of state to intervene so they can be paid.
Immaculate for reporting there on the strike action of angry workers of the state-owned institution. It should be recovered. They've gone for 16 months, unbelievable, without salaries. They are asking for their money, and the image on your screen is that of Cameroon's Minister of Secondary Education, Minister Nalova Lyonga, and he released made public in the late hours of yesterday. It has to do with candidates sitting in for the General Certificate of Examination, that is GC Ordinary and Advanced Level. The minister in that communique informs candidates that subjects and programs for Saturday will not hold. I read the communique. The Minister of Secondary Education informs a candidate for the 2022 session of the GCE that due to the celebration of the Feast of the Ram that has been announced for Saturday the 9th of July 2022, all GCE and TVE examinations which were scheduled for the dates have been rescheduled for Friday 15th of July 2022, same time and venue. The minister further announces that apart from the above mentioned modifications, the timetable for the rest of the subjects remains unchanged. Yes, the document was signed and published yesterday by Cameroon's Secondary Education Minister, and it has to do with candidates, strategic there for candidates to know when they are supposed to take in their subject. We take you from that information from the minister to the southwest region of Cameroon to say that youths from across the region gathered to arm themselves on the necessity for young people in Cameroon and Africa to be engaged politically in order to effectively make decisions, democratically speaking, in an occasion bringing together some politically conscious young persons in BOUBA. They got the skills on how to get their voices go through on the political landscape. We have details with our Southwest Regional Chieftain Correspondent, Derek Jato.
African youth and politics.
Youths feel that politics has to do with dirty games. But
they argue that politics is a game, and like any other game, the interest of the players comes first. Most African youths are with the opinion that party politics is a dirty game in Africa. But this group of Cameroonian youth under the umbrella engaging African youth in politics converge on BOUBA to tell their age bracket that politics is beyond their own definition.
As a community leader, I believe it's a way of life. It's a way of working together, with people in achieving, the welfare and the well-being of everyone.
Our leaders.
To Tambe Henry, the brain behind the initiative engaging African youth in politics, politics is at every sphere of human activity.
Politics must not only be that you are serving in a position of leadership. Politics start right from our homes. Politics start right from our communities.
And for any youth to get to his or her dream position, the aspirant must start from where Tambe has baptized as the assisting level.
We must start assisting to learn from what they are doing before they can entrust the leadership positions into us.
To Dr. Likondo Joseph, an educational administrator who was invited to the BOUBA summit, he brought forth the points that stains politics in Africa.
We realize that most of the time there is no room for accountability. That's why many people go off and things are not happening because people are not accountable.
From this BOUBA summit, this Cameroonian youth next stop point will be in Kigali, Rwanda.
And youth engagement politically is not the only issue affecting Africa, according to some experts in specific domains. Experts in the domain of renewable energy say that African leaders are considering less, whereas the sector is highly important for an economic overtake of Africa, or an economic takeover of most African countries. The expert was speaking after a summit that brought together experts to brainstorm on how to help African governments prioritize renewable energy for effective economic takeover. We have details in the following report compiled by Babila Jonathan.
Hundreds of millions of sub-Saharan Africans have no access to electricity. The World Bank estimates that about 80% of those in rural areas lack electricity access. In Cameroon, recent findings of the Rural Electrification Agency show that over 10,000 localities do not have electricity supply. Most of them are in rural areas where accessibility is very difficult.
We have challenges with energy infrastructures in Africa, especially our own country, Cameroon, where it's very difficult for energy distribution to go into the faraway areas, like in the villages and in some other parts of the main cities.
Thus, the need to enhance and promote renewable energy as an alternative source of electric energy to clear or reduce the deficit and turn down its adverse consequences on the economy and life in general. Experts also highlight the benefits of renewable energy on environmental protection and the fight against climate change.
If we can invest more on renewable energy, that makes it very possible for African countries to be able to now expand on their economies. It means that people will be able to have systems that can support their daily life without depending upon heavy systems that run on diesel generators and all the rest. The less people use generators, the less people rely on fossil fuel for power in the main power plants, the less of carbon footprint we shall be having.
Meantime, the high cost of renewable energy is still a major barrier.
If we can come up with a sustainable credit system that allow consumers to be able to purchase these things on credit, as in many developed countries, that will really help us, our businesses here grow more, and the consumers will be able to be more attuned with what renewable energy is all about and how to leverage that in meeting their energy needs.
Renewable energy experts are urging all African nations to adopt tax incentives to reduce cost of production and consequently the price paid by consumers.
In some African countries like Niger, where we operate, there's complete tax exoneration of all energy imported items. In Cameroon, we're still catching up. There were some new laws that were passed, which we're trying to see how that will impact our operational costs. So, in terms of the government, there's support. They're still catching up with even the technology for people to know what is it that renewable energy is all about and how reliable it is.
While praising the commitment and efforts of G7 leaders in the fight against climate change through sustainable energy production, renewable energy expert Alain TAKU tells African leaders to create the enabling environment needed for Africans to provide African solutions to African problems.
These are our solar power. This is
Imagine you running away from trouble just to get into a more complicated situation, or a fairly complicated situation. It was a story of refugees of the Central African Republic in the east region of Cameroon before now. Yes, even having crossed the border for safety in Cameroon, they were still not free to move around. But just now, at least 6,000 of them who are in the east region have been issued refugee cards in that part of Cameroon to enable them move around freely in Cameroon using the refugee cards. It was a joint effort of the government of Cameroon with the World Bank and Human Rights Commissions for Refugees, which also permitted the refugees to apply for jobs in Cameroon. Important, as Innocent tells us in the following report.
These are Central African refugees from the camps of Gado, Badjeri and Manjo in the East region. For the first time, they receive from government refugee cards. According to the refugees, this will permit them visit their loved ones in other regions. A gesture hailed by these refugees, who at first were moving with documents issued them by the United Nations High Commission for Refugees. With the issuing of these cards, recognized by the law, authorities note will permit the refugees be part of Cameroon with the possibility of applying for a job.
Des comptes, d'avoir accès à ce qu'on appelle les emplois libéraux.
The operation to distribute 6,000 cards to these refugees has been made possible thanks to the 2018 financial aid of the World Bank that has as priority the socio-economic inclusion of refugees. We won't stop accompanying governments of Cameroon to find adequate solutions for the well-being of the population and of the refugees. East Governor Gregoire Mvongo saluted the roles played by the various actors of this initiative, an operation that continues with 218,000 refugees out of the 500,000 registered in Cameroon.
A good initiative, but some people think that the government of Cameroon is giving more attention to refugees of the Central African Republic and those from the neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria who fled the atrocities of Boko Haram to seek refuge in the Mediao camp that's in the far north region of Cameroon. Call it the Minawahu camp in the far north region of Cameroon, and forgetting victims of an internal armed conflict, the conflict in the Anglophone northwest and southwest English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Several persons displaced from these regions are living terribly in several parts of Cameroon. Some of them can barely feed. Reporter Glory Mala tells us that some of them have been attended to and partly empowered by an association in the city of Douala. Her reports.
Others say the rate of unemployment among female folk is higher than the opposite gender. Faced with the situation, most of these women are forced to take housewife as a full-time activity. Though not all are comfortable being fully dependent as housewives. In the economic capital Douala, IDPs on their part undergo hardship in several neighborhoods, lack of funding to start up a business in order to help their families.
We're many there and we really need help, especially capital, to help us grow in our business. If they can really support the IDPs there in ESSAM. Many are educated, but there's no way to even do jobs. We have to work.
In order to empower them, an association of women in partnership with the Douala 5 Council made in its municipality to offer some financial aid.
It's a project that we started in order to raise funds to help women who were in vulnerable situations. So we had the first edition of this project, which we were able to reach out to 29 women. And so with these 29 women, we had great success stories.
According to the assistant mayor who presided over the meeting, the council has decided to assist these women whose little effort will go a long way to contribute to the country's development.
Have you ever had your social media handle or account hacked? It's a terrible feeling, the same feeling that gets into public officials when some confidential documents are leaked or are not effectively protected. Yes, ICT experts are conscious of this challenge that is eating deep into the public service in Cameroon with leaked confidential documents on social media in Cameroon on a daily basis. Faced with the challenges, they are poised on empowering public sector stakeholders on how to preserve confidential documents in the far north region of Cameroon, rather the north region. ICT experts have schooled officials of the public administration in the town of Garo on how to protect confidential documents. The workshop on cyber security covers some key areas and also covers criminal attitude of some individuals. We have details with our reporter Anna Bila.
Cyber criminality is a phenomenon which is common in the cyberspace across the globe. It is recurrent for email addresses and social media accounts to be hacked, even those belonging to government members, including telephone fraud. In 2014 and 15, ICT officials revealed that the state and mobile operators in Cameroon lost over 7 billion francs CFA to cyber criminality. Cyber criminals versed with technology most times succeed at invading private information systems of both private and public services for criminal reasons. Anybody is susceptible to cyber attack. Nobody is free from cyber criminality. We know public administration is into digitalization, reason for which they are at risk, and we have to start with them. Everybody is concerned. In a bid to protect soft copies of private data belonging to public institutions, information communication technology experts in public administration in the North region have been schooled on how to properly protect official information.
This training will also help all the administration and the ICT representatives that are here to know everything that is available for them and to know how to use it. So whenever they are developing their ICT master plan or developing their cyber security plan to make sure that all the information that they are providing are secure, they will use the tools that are available for them. We are not only Antic is a promoter of ICTs, but we are also in charge of the security of the cyberspace of Cameroon.
This capacity building workshop on cyber security permits ICT experts to teach not only how to fight cyber criminals and protect cyberspace, it as well gives them clues on how to identify and classify cyber tools.
It looks like Lionesses have got greater chances of qualifying in the ongoing Africa Women's Cup of Nations in the northern African country of Morocco. I say so because the Teranga Lionesses of Senegal and the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco are the first to have qualified to the next stage of the competition, winning their second matches. Burkina Faso and Uganda, who lost on their second matches, have just very minimal chances of qualifying, probably on the third best teams, as sportsman MATGENIE Gabriel tells us.
Former president of Burkina Faso, who was in exile since 2014 following the death of Thomas Sankara, is expected to be in Ouagadougou at the end of the week. The former president will be received by the head of state to have a contest discussion on national reconciliation. Sentenced to life imprisonment after 6 months trial. On April 6, 1987, Compaoré before the Ouagadougou military court was found guilty of killing his predecessor Thomas Sankara. Sankara, who was gunned down in the West African nation's capital at the age of 37, promised to thwart corruption, post-colonial influences, banned female circumcision and polygamy. Thus, his death came as a taboo to the population. Compaoré's supporters are seen on some social media sites mobilizing to receive him in the Ouagadougou airport on Friday. As it seems, they are trying to create a sacred union to help him fight against jihadist groups that have been waiting for him since 2015, coupled with the increasing attacks the country is facing over the week.
Sorry, that was our foreign page with our reporter Lucy Eliego, who was giving us details on the eventual return of former president of Burkina Faso, Blaise Compaoré, who was sent after a military coup out of the country, Burkina Faso. He is, however, expected back to the country. He will be received at the Ouagadougou International Airport by Burkina Faso's military government, according to reports. He's been pardoned. This is part of a transition in the East or West African country of Burkina Faso. Now, time for us to talk sport, as we indicated that the Africa Women's Nations Cup in the northern African country of Morocco seems to be favoring Lionesses. Yes, the Teranga Teranga Lionesses of Senegal and the Atlas Lionesses of Morocco are first to qualify to the next round of the competition. The two teams, Burkina Faso debutants and Uganda, who lost in their second matches on Tuesday, still have minimal chances of qualifying, as sportsman Smanji Gabriel tells us in the following report.
It was a historic qualification to the second round of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations for host Morocco and Senegal in Group A of the tournament. The two nations who are returning to the competition after several years in the cold have this far flight without passion, winning 2 matches and grabbing all possible 6 points at their disposal. In the day's opener at the Moulay Abdallah Sports Complex, it was Kokafal who gave all 3 points to the Teranga Lionesses in her debut at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations through a penalty that resulted as a result of her being fouled. The goal catapulted the team of coach Mam Moussa Sissé to the next round of the tournament in Morocco for the first time. The Atlas Lionesses of Morocco, on their part, were scared at one point by the crested cranes of Uganda in front of their home crowds when the Ugandans wiped out the goal that was scored by Rosalia Ayan to bring the match to a 1-1 draw. Fortunately for the host, they managed to get 2 penalties during the last segment of the game to beat the crested cranes of Uganda 3-1. If Senegal and Morocco are sure of the next round of the tournament, the leadership of Group A will be on the tables when the two Lionesses meet on the final day in Group A. Meanwhile, all is not yet lost for Burkina Faso and Uganda, who have all lost 2 matches. A win for either side on the final day may see them qualify from the group as the best third place finisher. Match day 2 in Group A saw 3 penalties awarded, 1 to Senegal and 2 to Morocco. This far, it is the highest number of penalties awarded in a single match at the Women's Africa Cup of Nations, Morocco 2022.
It was a rich package, right? Trust me, a full newscast and well-investigated information from and out of Cameroon can only be on your #1 television channel, Equinoxe. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe you had a wonderful time with us. We urge you to stay in the company of interesting program, of course, on Equinoxe. We shall be having Equinoxe all the way from Yaoundé, Cameroon's political capital city. The news in the French language will come up at 8 p.m. still from Yaoundé. For me, I'm from Sanda. I will be back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. God willing.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image.